Well, our top story today from the GatewayPundit.com, Bill Maher tells Charlie Kirk what's really destroying his own party. We're talking about this story and so much more here on the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Elijah Schaffer, and this is the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review, where we cover the top 5 stories of the last 24 hours. Our top story today, Vigilant Fox reports at the GatewayPundit.com that Bill Maher, the traditional libtard that we've all come to love, hate, and love to hate, had a conversation with the well-known leader of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, saying what's really destroying his own party. Let's talk about it. On the latest episode of Club Random, Bill Maher sat down with Turning Point USA co-founder and Charlie Kirk for what many expected to be a clash of political opposites. But what unfolded was something far more surprising, a candid, wide-ranging conversation that revealed just how much common ground these two actually share, especially when it comes to calling out the modern left. Well, it kicked off with a sharp joke from Kirk, who warned Maher that the purple-haired jihadis would be coming for him next. They want to kill me just as bad. Oh, they really do, Maher responded. He explained they hate their own apostates more. I'm supposed to get on the short bus to Crazy Town with them, and I won't. From there, Maher began to draw a clear line between classic liberal values and what he called the woke ideology taking over the Democratic Party. I'm one of them. They're not one of me, he said. Liberal and woke are two completely different things. Woke is very often the opposite. And of course, rather than just listening to us discuss the conversation, I want you to listen to some of these amazing clips from the interview. Check out this interaction.
We have different jihadis that want to kill me. The purple-haired jihadis, the woke guys.
Well, so they kill me. They want to kill me just as bad.
Probably.
Oh, they really do.
No, you've been very outspoken on the woke stuff. Big time.
Oh, yes. I mean, and they, just the way within a religion, they hate their own apostates more. I would say they hate me more because I'm supposed to like get on the short bus to Crazy Town with them, and I won't. And yet I'm still a liberal and still like, you know, I mean, we probably could argue all day about Donald Trump and what he's doing, which I'm not down with. But, you know, it's always the people who are closest who think, oh, gosh, you shouldn't have, you're a traitor somehow.
I was going to ask, is it because they thought you were one of them and that...
I am one of them. They're not one of me. I'm okay. It's the liberals who have...
So they've left you, not you left.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's... Liberal and woke are two completely different things. It was the theme of my last stand-up special that I just did a few months ago. And it's basically... I mean, it wasn't the whole special, of course, but it was a large part of it devoted to that, to proving that case that, you know, what liberals believe, woke is something completely different. It's very often the opposite of it. You know, liberalism is, let's live in a colorblind society. That's the goal. Woke's goal is, we see race everywhere.
Race obsession.
Yes. Okay. So that's not liberal. You change. Liberal is, they're a two-state solution. Woke is river to the sea, okay? So just don't take my word and say you're that. You took this and took it to, you got off the F train, you fell asleep, and you got off the 20 stops too far, and don't blame me for that.
So he's making a valid point, right? So some people have gone way too far liberal. I think what kind of woke me up is, you know, I'm from Los Angeles. I'm not liberal. I never was liberal, but I have a conservative mind. And, you know, I'm typically pretty tolerable of people. I'm not really like one of these like conservative Bible thumpers that, you know, forces his ideas and opinions on everybody else. But I did start to see something very, very problematic in that, you know, liberals started to question their gender identity. It's like, well, I understand some people, you know, get molested or whatever. People turn gay. I get that some people like to smoke weed. Like, I kind of just get that people do things. But then it's like, well, if you're not even following a line of logic, then I don't really get you at all. And I don't want to be a part of that. They went on to discuss even more about California's far-left governor. Check this out.
Good on you for being a liberal that acknowledges male-female distinctions. What a concept, right?
Oh, of course.
I mean...
Of all the low-lying fruit that the Democrats just like hand the Republicans to win elections, that's the one.
You know, it's so funny. I joked around with my team the other day. I said, are they really going to just let us win every national election on this no men and female sports thing?
Right.
Like, they can't surrender on this one issue.
It's so ridiculous.
It's a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
There's 890 medals and trophies of men winning these competitions.
You lost Gavin Newsom on this, okay? Take that as a hint, right? I mean, I think you were
I was the one that asked the question.
Right.
Yeah, and the thing is about this question is, Nobody wants men competing in women's sports. In fact, men don't even want women around in their spaces. Can we not get back to just gender distinctions? Why does everything have to be we're all multicultural and multi-gendered? And why can't we have our own unique identity? You know what I mean? I don't even want another family living inside of my home. So, well, I have to have what? Anyone can live in my house? I don't think so. It's just starting to get ridiculous that we live in this nomenclature of a life where we can't even say the truth based on what's actually happening. But obviously on Down Even More, they had a further discussion. Check out what Kirk had to say to Maher on this issue.
I voted for Obama. I voted for Clinton. But the idea that I could talk to them as freely as I felt this conversation was going is emblematic to me of why the Democrats lose the elections. Because they just don't feel that this is like a real person. And I know it's so weird to say that about Donald Trump, who I've said a jillion times is, you know, a whiny little bitch. I mean, I could go through my greatest hits of like insults, but this was about getting past that and maybe seeing that if we met in person, we don't hate each other as much, and we don't. And I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like pretend that's a bad thing.
Right, and then what he's bringing up with the humanity aspect, right? So you can say the right things, but if you're not a human, people won't like you. You ever meet people who are an archetype of who you'd want to be, right? You go to a church and it's like they're moral and they do this, they do that, but they come across sort of narcissistic, they come across judgmental, like they're holier than thou, and they speak to you like you're some sort of a, you know, apprentice to them, and you go, I don't even want to eat lunch with this guy. You know what I mean? Who is this person? And it's like, well, I like the idea of who they are, but I don't ever want to come off to people like I'm not real. Like I don't understand life and I'm not, you know, down to earth. And sometimes you end up liking people who are a little bit kooky or messed up, but they're more down to earth because like, at least this is a human. You know, I can deal with humanity. I cannot deal with non-humanity. And then you kind of realize, hey, maybe that's what the Democrats are doing. They come across non-human. Maybe people don't think Trump's perfect, but he comes across like a human. And that's what's so likable about him. I'd have to agree. It's probably the truth. Now, that being said, many of you guys know that if you're like me and you are getting to that age where your body hurts all the time. I woke up with jaw pain the other day. I don't even know what happened with that. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. Now, you've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the one thing. Not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. Now, this turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, but it stays away. That's the big deal. Now, Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from the constant aches and stiffness. And this turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it regularly and I've seen people, it actually starts working. So if you want to get this hack right now, check it out by going to goldenrevive.com/gateway, goldenrevive.com/GATWAY. The link right below this video is in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards a pain-free, healthier life. I encourage you to check it out at goldenrevive.com/gateway. Now, to end the story, we're talking about, you know, Kirk and Maher also had another point of contention that they ended up agreeing on. Listen.
We're on different planets, obviously, on the spiritual religious stuff. But when you spoke against the woke, that for me was a proving moment. And I have to say something, and this is 100% true. You had more moral courage than pastors that I know that went along with the woke crazy train. And you deserve credit for that because it was of high cost.
Until we get rid of that shit, they're never going to win another election.
I agree. They're not going to take political advice from me.
No, but they might from me.
They could.
And
they should.
Not the 10%. But that's 10%.
But they're very loud.
They're very loud, but that's it. And I, you know, as FDR once said, I welcome their hatred because they're just, first of all, they have no integrity. They don't ever present the full argument. They just cherry pick. I mean, everybody does it to everybody. So I'm not saying I'm unique here, but that is part of the problem of our discourse is that everybody just wants to forward their narrative. No one is really interested in the full truth. Just the truth. Just give me the truth. And that's the crowd I'm going for.
Yeah, and nobody is interested in the full truth, right? I do respect people who are looking for the truth, but one of the reasons why I don't really like the establishment right, like Charlie Kirk's side of the political spectrum or the left, is that they do care about truth, but only on certain topics, right? So when you talk about race realism, if you're talking about crime, if you're talking about, foreign national control of our government, then the truth doesn't matter, because it's like they go, well, I care about the truth, but I don't want to hear that truth, right? So they don't sit around telling you you're wrong or you're incorrect, but they intentionally exclude that from the conversation. So it's like selective reasoning. It's like, well, listen, we'll talk about the truth on trans stuff and woke stuff, but when it comes up about the difficult questions, right? Like he even said, it's 90-10 on the trans issue. So it's not difficult for Charlie to talk about that because most people agree with him. But on things that are actually unpopular in the public, like really confronting why we have systemic issues, why our cities are unsafe, our immigration problems, they won't be honest about those things. And I don't like that there's selective reasoning on both sides. And that's why it's like you're seeing the left and the right agree a lot more today. It's because they both agree on one thing. There are certain things they won't touch, certain things they're purposely ignoring, and they're running out of ideas. So now they're just agreeing with each other on what common ground they do have in order to further avoid tackling the real problems in our country, because they don't want to be seen as racist or sexist or anti-Semitic or homophobic or whatever it is. And they're really all kind of woke. And so in my opinion, while I do like Charlie a lot and I like Maher a lot, to me, I feel like they're both a little bit woke in terms of their lack of accountability to really tackle the real problems, And it gives us sort of, glass finished version of truth that makes people feel good, and it's like, it's acceptable, right? Acceptable nuance. So we can talk about this, but this other stuff, well, we've already made, decided on it. It reminds me of like evolution in science, right? It's already been decided. It's true. You have to accept it. And it's like, nah, is it really true? I don't really know if it is. I don't think we've ever really defined those terms. The parameters have not been actualized. So, I do appreciate these conversations, but to me, I feel like it's a fake win. And it's not really a real win, right, in that regard, because we're still sort of have our hands tied behind our back. That being said, in sad news for Catholics out there, or maybe good news, depending on what you believe about the Catholic Church, someone did die, right? As a prominent person, Pope Francis dies at 88, the Vatican announces. Jim Hoff reports he doesn't look too good there, and we pray for his soul and for his family. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the first Latin American pontiff, passed away Monday morning at age of 88. The Vatican's, this is the Camerlengo of the Apostolic Chamber, Cardinal Kevin Farrell, announced that the Pope died at 7:35 a.m. in Vatican City. Dearest brothers and sisters, with deep sorrow, I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis. At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and of his church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage, and universal love, especially in favor of the poorest and the most marginalized. With immense gratitude for his example as a true disciple of the Lord Jesus, we commend the soul of Pope Francis to the infinite, merciful love of the one triune God. And there he is with an oxygen tank as well. In February, Francis, long criticized by conservatives for steering the church into left-wing political activism rather than defending tradition and morality, began suffering from a serious respiratory infection, which has now developed into double pneumonia, an aggressive affection that inflames both the lungs. A Vatican statement confirmed that the Pope underwent a chest CAT scan revealing the onset of double pneumonia. The statement added that polymicrobial infection, which has arisen in the context of bronchiectasis and asthmatic bronchitis and has required the use of corticosteroid and antibiotics, makes the therapeutic treatment more complex. A follow-up of the chest CT scan to which the Holy Father was subjected this afternoon, prescribed by the Vatican medical team and the medical staff at A. Gemelli Polyclinic Foundation, revealed the onset of bilateral pneumonia, requiring additional pharmacological therapy. Nevertheless, the press release adds that Pope Francis remains in good spirits. Previous reports indicate that Pope Francis himself is so deeply worried about his survival. They revealed that 88-year-old pontiff had reportedly informed his aides that he won't survive and is preparing for death, while he battles pneumonia in the hospital. Dr. Alfieri, head of his medical team, revealed yesterday that Francis came to be so close to death at a certain point that doctors considered ending his pneumonia treatment so he could just die in peace. The doctor said that it was the Pope's personal nurse and who urged the medical team to keep up the treatment in the wake of the vomiting episode. After a grueling battle against double pneumonia and a bout of kidney failure in the hospital for 38 days, Francis returned to the Vatican in March. Doctors have warned that it will still take a long time for Francis to fully heal. The Pope was prescribed another 2 months of rest at the Vatican, and he has to avoid large or stressful meetings. In his brief balcony appearance, Francis' face looked swollen, but he was not using oxygen and was breathing on his own. And according to Vatican News, in 1957, while in his early 20s, he also underwent surgery in his native Argentina to remove part of his lung following a severe respiratory infection. So as he aged, Pope Francis continued to experience recurring respiratory issues. And on Sunday morning on Easter, just a day before his death, he held a brief private meeting with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance at the Casa Santa Marta shortly after 11:30. According to the Holy See Press Office, the meeting lasted only a few minutes and served as an opportunity to exchange Easter greetings. But there's obviously some conspiracies rising about this. I don't think there's any foul play here. This obviously was a man in very, very poor shape, health. I'm not really going to take time to lambast a man who's dead. And so I know he has critics, but I will say, take him at his word. I don't agree with the Jesuit ideology, theology, and I, hope better for the Catholic Church, but I pray that God has mercy on his soul. If he really was sincere in his faith towards God and really did accept Jesus as his Lord and Savior, then I pray that, he would enter the kingdom of heaven. But if he didn't and he was leading people astray, then, I will let God deal with that. So we'll wait and see. Now, that being said, Representative Jamie Raskin promises retaliation for those unleashing fascist chaos on America when Democrats return to power. They're going to totally drop the hammer on us. I know that. And by fascist, it means us, the Gateway Pundit. It means you. It means basically just Republicans who want to see basic democratic will put into power. We're fascists because we care about the rule of law. Listen to what they're warning us they're going to do when they get back in. And they will get back in eventually. Listen.
So I like that idea. And it's a complement to something that we need to be doing right now, which is engaging in far more work of transnational democratic solidarity with the democratic governments and the democratic movements and peoples and parties of the world to try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us. But implicit in it should be the idea that if and when we come back to power, and we will, we are not going to look kindly upon people who facilitated, to use a word of the day, who facilitated authoritarianism in our country. Because that's an assault on our Constitution and on our people.
Yeah.
So
I love how they say it's the fascistic chaos. Like, it's fascists causing chaos in our country. It's literally not like Bolshevik communists, like it's literally a cult of people who overthrew the Romanovs to get to destroy the monarchy and to take over power to undermine the queen. And then they obviously have infiltrated the United States government, right? And our society. And that's why this guy won't call them out, because fascists are actually responding, as in fascists, as in, I'm just using this colloquialism in sort of a facetious way, just saying, hey, we're not fascists, but like people who care about, bringing authority, not authoritarianism, but authority back into our lives, right? Because Black people had to, use a different drinking fountain 70 years ago. Are we supposed to let them do whatever they want in the middle of our cities? You know what I mean? Like, so what? You got to use a different bathroom, so now you can have street takeovers and just rob people and there's no accountability? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a balance here. Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have to use their own drinking fountains, but like, you can't do whatever you want now. Right? So it's not even an overcorrection. It's just a Bolshevik, they told us they sold us civil rights and they said, oh, we want to bring equality. What they actually wanted to bring was chaos. And then part of their gaslighting, if you ever read like the Bolshevik manifestos, it's like you always accuse the enemy of what you're doing. So it's like, and then you call them, part of it is you call them fascist. Anyone who wants to bring balance and order back into the environment, you call them what? Two things. It says, the Bolsheviks, you raise awareness about what? Anti-Semitism and fascism. And that's what you focus your society on. That's what every defected KGB agent talked about, is that you will tell when you will always tell when Bolshevism has entered into a nation, when they're busy calling the law and order side fascists and anti-Semites. And that's what it is today. You got Jews being called anti-Semites for just asking for basic civility in the world. It's a pretty crazy world we've gotten into, and I just don't think those words really hold any meaning today. That being said, we're obviously witnessing a generational decline in men's testosterone, mostly due to lifestyle choices, diet, and exposure to environmental toxins. Now, this decline can result in persistent fatigue, diminished strength, reduced libido, mood swings, and overall loss of vitality, keeping you from feeling like your best self. Take control of your vitality now with Man's Edge from Neutronics Labs, the natural solution to support healthy testosterone levels. Man's Edge is more than just a standard booster. It combines powerful ingredients like fenugreek, IGF-1, NO2, and more to help you feel your best. I always even keep a bottle of it right here on the ledge is man's edge. It actually was right there. Studies show that fenugreek increases testosterone levels by up to 46%. Plus, unlike traditional powders and pills, man's edge offers up to 98% absorption, ensuring that you receive the full benefits of these clinically proven ingredients. Even Frank Stallone has made it a part of his daily routine to stay at the top of his game. Join him and thousands of men rediscovering their vitality daily with Man's Edge. Sign up for our auto ship program today and save 50% on all your orders. Reclaim your lost youth and energy. Visit the link below now or go to tboostnow.com. Use promo code Elijah to save an additional 10% on your first order. You guys honestly should get this. Everyone I know uses this. It's fantastic stuff. Now, that being said, just to bring this up, new in the Letitia files, did New York Attorney General Letitia James commit insurance fraud too? Well, it looks like it. It looks here that in the Gateway Pundit, I recently documented how Letitia James misrepresented the number of apartment units in her apartment building when applying for loans and refinancing. Now, Letitia reportedly told banks and the U.S. government that her apartment building at 296 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn only had 4 apartment units when, in fact, it actually had 5. I think we should throw her in prison. We should probably 30 years maybe. I want to charge her with 50 felonies, right? 50 felonies for this. This is like lying about property value. Oh my gosh. I think you should be executed by the state, right? That's what they said. That's the argument they made. Obviously, I'm just joking. I'm just being ridiculous. But I mean, it's insane. They sit around and you're like, oh, well, you know, what's so big about a little fib on your property taxes? I don't know. You spent tens of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to try to put Trump in prison for this. I don't really even care about the story. I just think she's an idiot. That being said, our last statement here, you can find out more on our website, thegatewaypundit.com. Israel is willing to ignore Trump and proceed with limited attack on Iranian nuclear facilities. Uh-oh. It looks like there's trouble in paradise. Our greatest ally is doing something that could jeopardize our country. Even I'm shocked at that one. Ben Q reports, Israel is willing to ignore President Trump and proceed with a targeted strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. According to sources who spoke with Reuters, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is willing to disregard Trump's preference not to strike Iran and instead focus on diplomatic routes for blocking Iran's nuclear program. The report states that over the past months, Israel has proposed to the Trump administration a series of options to attack Iran's facilities, including some with late spring and summer timelines, the sources said. The plans include a mix of airstrikes and commando operations that vary in severity and could set back Tehran's ability to weaponize its nuclear program by just months or a year or more, the sources said. The New York Times reported on Wednesday that Trump told Netanyahu in a White House meeting earlier this month that Washington wanted to prioritize diplomatic talks with Tehran and that he was unwilling to support a strike on the country's nuclear facilities in the short term. But Israeli officials now believe that their military could instead launch a limited strike on Iran that would require less U.S. support. Such an attack would be significantly smaller than what Israel proposed. So what this article is shocking to me, because what it's showing me is that Israel is unable to accomplish any of its military goals without the U.S. funding and military, which means that then all the stuff they're doing is a U.S.-led coalition force, which means maybe that's why Americans' support for Israel is declining, because they're kind of sick and tired of these wars, right? You have Iraq, Afghanistan, you have Ukraine, and it's like, how many more wars do we need to finance that is not our interests? And a lot of you love Israel, right? So, I mean, this isn't about a personal opinion on the country. I'd say this publication actually is a big Israel supporter, right? Gateway Pundit is a big pro-Israel network. But funding their wars, you know, I think it's like a 90-10 issue, like trans stuff. Like, do Americans really want to fund more wars? I don't know. Maybe we should just let them do what they want. You know, if you're pro-Israel, then they should be able to do whatever they want, and let them go take the strikes. But why do you need my tax dollars to strike Iran when my own president that we elected says he doesn't think it's a good idea? You know what I mean? So if they're starting to do things against our president, then, you know, we got to really take into consideration, are they really looking out for our interests? Are they looking out for their own? And if they are looking out for their own, then that's actually good, because every country should be looking out for their own interests. That's like completely true, right? Why can't America look out for its own interests? Damn it. Why can't we, why do we just refuse to care about our own people and our own country? It's like, why do we care so much about every nation? You know what I mean? Like, we'll spend hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. It's like, but we just won't help our homeless veterans. Like, just, it's stupid, you know? It's a genuine area of, it's a sensitive area for me. It's just like, every time I pay taxes, I'm like, why am I even doing this? You know what I mean? Why? I get city taxes, state taxes, you know, my roads and stuff, but it's like, what am I doing? Anyway, I digress. Nothing in this show is an official opinion of this network. I just want to repeat that. These are all my personal opinions as an independent journalist working as a contractor here at the network. This network is is probably very much in favor of supporting Israel militarily and also continuing on with our allies. And so I'll leave it at that. And encourage you guys to take into account the opinion of the network more than my own personal slant and beliefs. Have a great rest of the week. Don't forget to pick up your mug from our mug club at thegatewaypundit.com. It's a wonderful mug. It's beefy. It's amazing. And you would appreciate it a lot more if you grabbed one and support us financially as we fight against people who want to make our network go out of business. Have a great rest of the week, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.